My name is Mark Roberts. I'm the Head of Network Solutions at RedCentric. And today I'm going to be discussing secure remote access to the healthcare network. I've been around the healthcare network since NHSnet in 1995. Mark Hall presented earlier was actually my mentor. So I'm now on my third iteration, going from NHSnet M3 to now HSN. And hopefully I'll be around for the time when actually we move to internet. Right guys, so just a brief overview of the content today. For the people in the room that doesn't understand what BT is offering, I've called it the problem, the challenge. So we'll spend a bit of time going through what the current offering is. I'll then spend some time speaking about the two solutions at a high level that RedCentric can offer. And then we'll go into a bit of a deep dive about the shared platform and then a dedicated platform. And then we'll talk about the future of remote access. And finally, we'll end up on procurement routes. Now, what I will say, it's an interactive session. So if you've got any questions, I'd rather you stop and ask the questions as we're going along. If you'd rather wait to the end, obviously we can always do questions at the end, but the more we interact, the better the session, the more you'll get out of it. Okay, so the problem, as I've called it, as Simon alluded to earlier, the M3 network is going to close in August 2020. Now, it's had many closing dates. They've been moved around over the last 18 months, but I actually believe that August 2020 is actually the first achievable date that the NHS has said for actually migrating circuits. To enforce that, for the first time ever, remote access overlay tokens have been ceased. So you can no longer place any orders with the M3 service provider, who's BT, for new remote access service tokens. Now, just to highlight, there are differences. There's two overlays. So you've got remote access overlay and you've got IPsec overlay. What we're going to be discussing here, we're talking about token-based, so remote access. We're not talking about anything that's tied to a physical circuit. Okay, so from BT's point of view, they offered three services in token-based. The first token was called a standard token. It was designed for commercial third parties, for people that have to log in, access hospital systems, fixed door entry systems, contact servers, provide maintenance, and do all that good stuff. Now that was available only with software, on Windows only, and it was desk-based. The second token was dedicated for NHS workers. Now these NHS workers might be GPs that only have an internet connection. They could be pharmacists. They could be a nurse out in the field, a nurse at a desk. And these were desk-based, again, with software and Windows only, which sort of defeats the object of remote access, really, when you're saying you're desk-based. And then the final one, which is the one that everyone will be more familiar with, it was for healthcare-based workers, and they were called mobile. Now, these ones worked on Android, Apple iOS, Mac OS X, Windows, and they're the ones that are more prevalent in the market today. So that lies the problem. You know, as Simon said, there's 10,000 users on the Yorkshire estate of remote access tokens, not all by RedCentric, that are available. Some customers, if they've got varying contract end dates, won't know that actually these services are going to fall off their perch at some point. And when they phone up at the last minute to try to renew them, actually they're not going to be renewable. Okay, so RedCentric, we have two options for yourselves. The first one is our customer share platform. Now, this has been around for 6 or 7 years. We've had probably two refreshes of hardware and technology during that time. We currently have about 6,500 to 7,000 tokens in service. This platform is resilient by design. By resilient by design, I mean we have a primary location, which I believe is in Harrogate, and we have the backup location, which is in Reading. They are configured in an active-passive configuration, so should we have a major outage, to the primary location, they would all fall back to the second location, so continuation of service would still exist. Now, the best thing about this, access tokens can be procured in small quantities. And the best thing about our service, which is a little bit different from BT's, is you don't actually have to own an M3 circuit or have a healthcare physical circuit to be able to order these services. You can order them as a standalone service, which again, that gentleman there, previously, he would have had to, if he was buying it from BT, he would have had to buy a broadband line, an Ethernet line, install it into his building, and then buy some tokens for the remote access users. So it would have been very expensive. That's there. Now, there are some drawbacks which I'll get in when I do a deep dive for the customer share platform. The customer dedicated platform. Now, the customer dedicated platform is different. Now, the main reason it's different is when you buy the share platform, you've got one goal. All you want to access is HSN. It's suitable for teleworkers, nurses in the field, pharmacists, people that are remote from their office that need to access the healthcare network, which they can't access unless they're in the office. For the customer dedicated platform, this could be a remote access solution. So you've got information systems that are non-healthcare that sit within your business environment and users need to access. They can access it. They can also access the HSN from as well. You can actually have some users that only use non-healthcare information systems. You can have some access for people that only want to use information systems, healthcare information systems. Also, this one as well, one thing to highlight, it's designed to your requirements. So it doesn't have to be resilient. It's not suited for 10 users. You know, it wouldn't cost him for you. 10 users, it would cost you 10 times what it costs you now. So I put down here, suited for estates for 60 plus users. From my experience when I've been designing these solutions, that's roughly around the point where it's cost neutral difference between just going on the shared environment. So our shared platform. So our shared platform is built on best of breed technology and partners. So everyone knows who Cisco is, so I'm not going to go into who they are. Has anyone heard of Gemalto? It's amazing. None of you have heard of them. If any of you pulled out a bank card and looked at the back of it, it will say Gemalto on the back. Yeah. Gemalto are one of the largest digital security companies in the world. They turn over 3 billion euros a year. They employ 15,000 people, and they're pretty much market leaders in digital security. One of their largest customers is Microsoft. So Microsoft's customer smart cards. Every single one of their staff have one of these, and that's how they access their information systems. So one of the reasons we partner with them, they are the leaders in their industry. Okay, so for the shared platform, tokens are available in soft and hard format. So we've already covered what hard format. They're the physical dongles where you enter your PIN, you get a code, and you put it in. Soft forms, very, very varied. So we've got some old platforms here. So they support all the major operating systems. So it's Apple, it's Android, it's Windows, it's BlackBerry. So one thing to highlight on our shared platform, which is different from BT, we only provide the core service. So we provide access to the internet. We've set up the core remote access platform. We provide the token. What we don't provide is the client software for the end device. Now, the client software that it does work on, it works on Windows 7, it works on Android, it works on Apple iOS, and it works on Mac OS X. Now, one of the things I have omitted from there is Windows 10. Obviously, the current version is Windows 10. Windows 7 is going to end. The inbuilt Windows 10 client does not support our two-factor authentication platform by default. You can buy third-party clients from vendors such as NCP, which do work perfectly fine on Windows 10, but the inbuilt client, which is obviously the easy one to use, doesn't support it. Cisco VPN client, if any of you have ever used that will work on Windows 10. Unfortunately, you have to hack your registry to get it to work, which is not ideal and not recommended by anyone. So it's one of the reasons I have to flag it. Okay. And obviously that's one of the main drivers, actually, some users that go to the dedicated platform. So for anyone who uses our 2FA service, you get a customer administrative portal. You can see it here. You know, this is the screen once you're in, and this is the logon screen. When we issue your 10 tokens, the first token, we'll ask you for an email address of the first user. We'll send them an email and we'll onboard them. They'll get the first token either hard or soft, depending on what they required. At that point, there will be access to a URL and they can log on to the system. They put their 4-digit PIN into their token, they get it, the password, they get this. The rest of the tokens you purchased will be available in the environment. It is then up to yourself to create usernames and passwords associated with email addresses and onboard the rest of the clients. So it comes very clear. So there comes a clear benefit of using soft tokens. If you use the hard tokens, actually you've got to send a token to someone. It can take 2 days. You get them onboarded. They lose their keys. They lose their token. You've got to go through the whole process of getting a new token and sending it out to them. If it's a soft token, you pretty much just reprovision it on another device. It's really easy. Now, the next thing is the reporting. Now, if you've got 10 users, it's very, very easy to maintain. It doesn't take a lot to maintain 10 users, create 10 users, administer 10 users. And you've got 3,000, you know, that can become very, very painful. And actually, the worst thing about it is you get people that leave. People leave the business. You know, the last thing people ever do in a business is basic admin. Yeah, it's the last thing they do. So you can end up with hundreds of users or tokens that have been reused. You buy more tokens. With our reporting functions, You can run reports on the two-factor authentication of when was your last login, how many times have they logged in, are they inactive, when was the last time they used. One thing it doesn't give you access to, it doesn't give you access to usage data. So is someone using mainly HTTP? Are they using HTTPS? It doesn't give you any traffic-based information. It gives you log-on information. A dedicated platform overview. Now, I've highlighted one of the key reasons why you'd want a dedicated platform, the native support for Windows 10. One of the things that's very, very key with dedicated platform is the software is provided. Currently, we partner with Cisco and Fortinet to provide the core infrastructure. Reason we partner for these guys, they're two of the top security vendors in the world in their industry. So they provide some of the best next generation firewalls or VPN concentrators in the business. We just deployed a 1,100 user deployment. One of their key drivers for not going on the shared platform and going with dedicated platform is they wanted Cisco AnyConnect. Yeah, they wanted Cisco AnyConnect, and it needed to. They didn't want to go out to the 1,100 remote users and deploy a client and install it on a 1,100 device. It could be quite time consuming. So they went with Cisco, and it rolled out and it worked fine because they didn't have to migrate all the individual users. They migrated the IP addresses to the new platform. They set up the users. It works. They didn't have to touch 1,100 points. They only had to touch the core infrastructure. They then changed their requirements in what users were doing, and everyone's got more than one device now. People were taking their laptops home and go, do you know what, I don't really want to use my laptop. I want to use my iPad. So they're putting the client software on their iPad. They're logging into corporate organisations, healthcare applications without using a secure device that doesn't have the same security posture as everyone else. So using this next generation stuff, we created a blank file and hid it on the corporate device. And one of the things the client does now when it connects, it dials up, it checks if that file's located on the machine. If it's not, it blocks access. So they've already gone into the next stage of evolution. The BYOD policy's gone. They're enforcing only allowable to access corporate resources with a corporate device. So there's no danger of me logging on with my 5-year-old laptop with an outdated antivirus, creating the next WannaCry. It's really, really powerful. Now, one of the things that's very, very similar, obviously we use Gemalto technology. So the tokens are available exactly the same as they are on a shared platform. The customer administrative portal is exactly the same. The reporting is exactly the same. What we can do though, is we can do Active Directory integration. Now where we talks about creating thousands of users, potentially thousands of users, with this, we can put an agent onto the Active Directory domain controller, and we can import users from certain groups into the platform. We can then set different security policies. So if I'm accessing the corporate network, I come in and I can see the finance systems, I can see the information technology systems. And I'm going to pick on Nick here. Nick logs in, and all Nick can see is the company intranet, because actually he's a guest or he's a lower privileged member of staff. You can actually start restricting role-based access. You might not even be able to see HSCN. I might be able to see HSCN because I'm an approved user. Nick may not be able to. It becomes very, very powerful in actually becoming not only a secure remote access service, but actually a corporate access service. Now, one of the key things here is the internet first is coming. There's not going to be no more private networks. When internet first comes, the shared platform will cease to do what it's designed to do, give access to people to a private walled garden network, which is HSCN. It will serve no purpose. It won't exist anymore. Everything could be on the internet. Now, with a dedicated platform, at that point in time, regardless of whether there's no private networks, every single organisation, whether it's private or public, will have information systems that they don't want the general public to see. So you will want to secure your remote access users coming into your own data centres. Yes, they will access it across the internet, but they still need it to be secured. So this, if you like, the dedicated platform is future-proof to a degree. It will have to evolve, but this doesn't have a limited shelf life like HSCN does. Okay, so moving on from that, future developments. Now things are becoming very, very powerful. Over the next 6 months, some of RedCentric's largest opportunities are based on remote access, and customers wanting to do more and wanting to increase their security posture, not only when they're in their office, but for remote users. We're currently in a trial with one of our other healthcare customers that actually have got about 700 staff that are in the field, and they've all got company-issued iPads with 3G, 4G, 5G cellular devices, and they're out there and they're using the devices, using the standard shared tokens, and they're connecting to HSCN and doing all the work. what they're also doing on them devices is actually, when they're sitting in traffic, they've got TV on. You know, they've got BBC iPlayer on. They're burning through data. Data costs are ramping up to massive amounts, and they've got no way to police it, because actually, as long as they've got a data bundle, they're connected to the internet. There is no posture check, and there's nothing else. So actually, what they've asked to do is actually, they're going to enforce web filtering. Now, whether you're on net, or whether you're in the office, you're at home, if you're using your company device, you will have your web filtering policy enforced to all your endpoints. The few users that we've trialled already, actually their data usage has gone down 70%, because actually the only things they're allowed to access are corporate resources, business use, email. You know, they can access the internet as long as it's work-based. You know, there is no access to Netflix, Amazon Prime, you know, anything that burns resource. It's amazing how much it happens, but if you've got 700 users burning through 3-4 gig of extra data each month, that's a huge cost, month on month. Okay, so the other things that you can see. So here is outtake of 40 Client, which is obviously one of our partners, and actually it gives you a report. So what it can enforce software inventory management. So if users have got full admin rights to their PCs, they can install software on it. It's not approved. We don't have licenses for. You know, something that can another business can come back and come at us and actually say actually using our software illegally or pirated. Software inventory management can actually track allowed software. It can actually deinstall software that's been installed that isn't approved for business use. So it becomes very, very powerful. Obviously, you can also as a part of this client, you can enforce antivirus policies. You know, you must scan every day. You must update latest definitions. If you don't, do you know what? We won't allow you access to the network. We'll block you. When you try and join, we'll stop you coming in. So compliance enforcement, you know, is another thing. Is actually making sure that actually all Windows updates on your remote device are at the right level, and enforcing the updates are done before you allow people to access the network. It becomes very, very keen on enforcing security postures. Telemetry and monitoring. Now, telemetry and monitoring gives the ability to actually real-time monitor of users and what they're doing. And actually, should a user become infected with something like WannaCry, it gives you the ability to quarantine that user immediately. You can even automate it actually based on a rule set that actually you stop that user from distributing that virus to thousands of users. You know, had that been enforced when WannaCry came out, actually it could have been nipped in the bud before it spread across multiple hospitals and pretty much brought the healthcare service to its knees. I mean, and that's not all this. Now, one of the big things that we are seeing is always on VPN. Now, people are actually talking about, I've got a remote device here, and actually one of the things we're going to be rolling out as a business soon is I plug my machine into an internet connection. The first thing it does when it dials up, it connects to the office network. It enforces our corporate policy. I'm not allowed to go out and, as I said, stop browsing BBC iPlayer. I'm not allowed to do anything that sits outside our corporate IT policy. And the last thing on here is, at the moment, all the healthcare industry's remote access is based on IPsec. Moving forward, there's a driver to get to SSL VPN. Now, the last slide I've got is procurement routes. Now, I appreciate there's a mixed environment in the room, so we've got some public sector customers and we've got some private sector customers. So Red-Centric are on RM3825, which was the original HSN framework, which all blue badges and third-party companies went out to procure the HSN services. I was led to believe a minute ago that actually that's going to be extended for another couple of years, so that's available. Red-Centric have recently awarded a place on RM3808, which is Network Services 2, which is the key public sector procurement route for the next 10 years. We also won the YHPSN framework, so anyone here is in the Yorkshire and Humberside area, we can sell you HSN services on that framework. We're also on G-Cloud 10, which obviously is another key procurement route for government agencies. And for any of our private sector customers, we can sell to you by direct engagement. We don't need to go through a framework. Well, guys, that's all I've got for you today.